Hi guys, so I saw this video about Mike the Vegan exploring the what the health debunked by Vox, and I'm very curious about what he has to say about this.
Hey, it's Mike, and today it appears that the most threatening thing in the world is what the health. There has been a what the health.
No, it's not threatening. The problem is that it's spewing shit science to people and it's arguing against true science. That's the problem. The problem is not that it is a concern to the world. The problem is that it's a fake documentary about fake facts.
Debunking frenzy lately. Like, heaven forbid people are gonna go vegan and start reversing diseases because they exaggerated that one point about dairy, so let's keep eating carcinogens. But one article has risen to the top of the toilet. This Vox article, I figure if I'm really smug I can get some good hate comments. A lot of people have sent me this article, so let's talk about it. As many of you know, I already did a response to Z-Dog's more off-the-cuff response to the movie, but now people have had time to gather the resources and put their best guns forward. The Vox article, for example, actually has some links to some sources, so I think we're gonna learn a lot more here than we did with Z-Dog. Alright, let's look at what Vox's science writer Julia Bellew's views as out-of-context, cherry-picked, and exaggerated points. Starting with point number 1. Eating processed meats is as bad for you as smoking, in which she says that the WHO never said that the risk to your overall health was equal, just that the strength of the evidence for cancer was equal. But I don't recall Kip ever being like, eating meat is as bad for your health in every way as smoking is.
Yeah, but he's fucking said that eating 1 ounce of meat or something like that equals that as 5 cigarettes per day or something like that. What does that tell you? Even if he didn't imply, that's what he said, and that's what you can extract from that phrase. If I told you that driving a car is like, I don't know, killing 20 people in a massacre every year, because people do die because of car accidents, would you consider not driving a car because cars are killing people? No.
It appears that she is creating a bit of a straw man, saying that he is equating them when he's really only comparing them, albeit with a bit of a...
Yeah, comparing it's the same fucking thing when you compare two things and they say they are the same. That's the same thing, you fucking idiot. Why do you want to make excuses for that fucking shit?
dramatic illustration. I believe this is clear in the language of the very statement she has a problem with and included in the article. Quote, if processed meats are labeled the same as cigarettes, how is it even legal for kids to be eating this way? It is absolutely true that the WHO has labeled them the same. Labeled Class 1A and Class 1A. Alright, let's go.
Yeah, do you know what else is Class 1A? Sawdust. Oxygen. They can cause cancer under circumstances. That means we shouldn't breathe anymore. Fucking idiot.
Go to vegan court real quick by arguing against the idea that it should be illegal to feed your children processed meats on the grounds that they are less carcinogenic than cigarettes is to say that it should be legal to give your children carcinogens if they are less lethal.
Yeah, they included processed meats, but what does processed meat means? That's the problem. That's what I'm arguing. What if you find that sugar laced with cyanide is detrimental to your health? Does that not sugar? Sugar is still bad for you. If you find that what do you fucking vegans like to eat? Lentils. If you find that lentils laced with cyanide, processed lentils laced with cyanide are detrimental to your health, does that mean lentils are detrimental to your health? Hell no. That means cyanide is detrimental to your health. They only got to that conclusion because they are associating results. They are making correlations. They are not stating that there's mechanistic evidence to show that meat is carcinogenic. Nobody on earth can prove that. Nobody on earth proved that. There are many speculations, but no conclusive proof. So until we have that proof, we don't have any arguments to put forward to that.
Than cigarettes. And you totally lost me. Let's follow her logic here. Alcoholic beverages are considered Class 1A carcinogens, and they are less potent than cigarettes in their cancer-causing power. Therefore, she's saying that you should be allowed to booze up your infant. Welcome to Mothering 101.
Yeah, the problem with alcohol is not that alcohol is carcinogenic or toxic or so on. The problem is that people get inebriated by alcohol, and they do stupid things like drive. Or I know, like for a kid, they go down the stairs head first or something like that. The problem with alcohol is not only that it affects your liver. The problem is that it affects your mental capacity.
Is your baby having trouble falling asleep? Apply the Class 1A carcinogen to their mouth hole. In all seriousness, going down the list of Class 1A carcinogens, it is very clear that it would be considered child abuse, which would be punishable by law, to feed these to your children. And no, they are not all equally as lethal as cigarettes, but how is processed meat any different? But Julia's angle here is like, Kip was...
So they are not equal at cigarettes, and they are not as they're not equal as cigarettes, but how are they different? You fucking idiot! You just told everybody that they are not equal with cigarettes. What more proof that you have to? What you are contradicting yourself here. You say that processed meats are the same as cigarettes, and then you say that they are not. Why are you contradicting yourself?
Is exaggerating, which is unacceptable. No, the dairy and meat industries exaggerate all the time in their ads, and something tells me she's not going to be going after any...
Yeah, the problem is that, for example, apple seeds have cyanide in them. If you eat apple seeds, you are consuming cyanide. Why aren't apples and apple seeds like banned? That should be a logical thing to do.
Milk and strong bones ads anytime soon. Alright, number 2. Eating an egg a day is as bad as smoking 5 cigarettes.
Do you know that nutmeg could kill you? Like 2 teaspoons of nutmeg could kill you? Did you know that? Why isn't nutmeg illegal?
Now, she doesn't really rebut this point in the sense that he's just saying what the study says.
Harvard Nurses Health Study found that the daily consumption of the amount of cholesterol found in just a single egg appeared to cut a woman's life short as much as smoking 25,000.
Yeah, did they fucking compare that study with the consumption, or did they correlate that study, or did they include in that study the consumption of sugar or flour or maybe other carbohydrates? That should be a good question, because those people didn't consume only cholesterol and meat. They consumed a lot of fucking things. They consumed sugar, and sugar is very bad for us.
1,000 cigarettes. 5 cigarettes a day for 15 years.
So take it up with the study's author. Jeez. But I don't know what people like Julia are expecting. Like, for every statement that is negative about an animal product, they need to come in with, like, a positive statement so it's super balanced.
Yeah, because animal products were consumed for a long period of time, and they shaped our evolution nutritionally and mentally. How could they be bad if they shaped us? And how could an alternative that we didn't eat that often be good?
Now introducing What the Health 2 for meat eaters who are triggered by the idea that a vegan diet is healthier.
But then I found
No, they are triggered because the vegan diet isn't better, and because the vegan diet mostly, for most people that are quote unquote triggered, didn't work for them. That's the problem.
study suggesting that eating just 1 egg a day can be as bad as smoking 5 cigarettes per day.
But many also view eggs as a healthy source of
Look.
protein.
He said that 1 egg a day is like smoking 5 cigarettes. How the fuck is that not saying the same? Eating an egg is like smoking cigarettes. Tell me how I should interpret those words. If I told you that, I don't know, eating 1 lentil is like smoking 5 cigarettes, wouldn't that be making a comparison, and a direct comparison between those foods? Please, I need to understand this, because as far as I know, he's saying that 5 cigarettes equals 1 egg. That's what he's saying, and that's not true, because if you take an egg, the egg is made with all the nutrients necessary for a baby chick to become a baby chick. Why wouldn't those nutrients be useful for us? How can those nutrients not be useful for us? Because they are everything you need to exist.
Organization this morning has classified processed meats such as bacon and sausage as carcinogenic.
But just because it's a carcinogen doesn't mean it's that bad.
She then pulls a Z-Dog.
Yeah, that means they classified it. That doesn't mean it is. Everything is a carcinogenic or bad for your health in some quantities or so on. And she talks about processed meats that are laced with a lot of additives that weren't found in meat. That's the problem, you fucking idiot.
And says that dietary cholesterol is not associated with heart disease, not citing any real sources, just really making an appeal to authority, saying that the scientific community has moved on, and then cites the USDA's cholesterol is no longer a nutrient of concern, which was...
Yeah, cholesterol, in 60 years of research, cholesterol wasn't proven as a concern factor when it comes to heart disease. if the cholesterol found in foods, the cholesterol found in arteries is not there because we eat those foods. The cholesterol there is because we have inflammation. Do you understand? Do you even know the role of cholesterol? Cholesterol is there to heal things, but because you're always inflamed, it won't get to heal things.
Based off the American Heart Association.
That's like associating scabs on your skin with wounds. Like scabs are the cause of wounds. That means we have to keep the clotting factors in our blood low because those form scabs and scabs are associated with wounds. Can you see how distorted this is?
Statement: did you watch the movie? The American Heart Association partnered with Big Beef, and the studies used to vanquish the link between high cholesterol levels and heart disease rely on cross-sectional analysis, which ignores the genetic baseline and also just studies a sick population.
Yeah, the beef industry is an industry that is $8-9 billion every year. That's the revenue in America. Yeah, the grain and plant industry is over $2 trillion. That's over $2,000 billion. Can you understand that? That's almost 2.5 times the revenue of the beef and dairy and egg industries. The animal industry is 2.5 times smaller than the plant industry. How can you argue that they are funded and they are always making false statements? And maybe they are, I don't know. But the problem, the most funding we have today is from plants.
Population in which everybody has a high risk of dying from heart disease. Just for a bit of contrast, the Institute of Medicine recommends that you keep your cholesterol intake as low as possible. And another
Yeah, as low as possible. Do you know what happens when... Look, I'm gonna search for you. Low cholesterol symptoms. Okay. If you have those deposits, plaque can reduce blood flow to your eyes. No, low cholesterol. Okay, side effects. So, low cholesterol side effects. Although the risks are rare, very low levels of LDL cholesterol may be associated, so maybe this is just like in the case of vegans, with increased risk of cancer, hemorrhagic stroke, depression, anxiety, preterm birth, and low weight if your cholesterol is low while you're pregnant. What does that tell you? That a low cholesterol is also bad. So as low as possible is not a solution, you fucking idiot. The problem is that cholesterol is used in your body for many things, making hormones, helping wounds, helping tissues to heal. Cholesterol is used at making vitamin D3. Cholesterol, I think I already said it makes hormones, but the myelin sheets of your neurons are they are enveloped in cholesterol because they are like wires, so they shouldn't pass electricity to other neurons. This cholesterol is very useful in our body. It has a lot of uses. So, and furthermore, the cholesterol in our body, like 80% of our cholesterol in our body is not from dietary sources. It is from our liver. It comes from our liver. So we don't eat it. It is just made. So when you eat more cholesterol, that means that less cholesterol is made by your liver if it's needed or the situation calls for that.
Another point worth noting, one of the studies that the movie referenced when comparing egg consumption and smoking for heart disease actually looked at arterial plaque buildup. So even if you want to ignore the whole topic of cholesterol, isn't artery health what really matters here?
Yeah, the problem is that they compare only the cholesterol intake. They don't take into consideration the flour intake, the grain intake, the other inflammatory things that could trigger the artery plaque to form. That's the problem. The problem is not that they compared the statistic. Comparing statistics means nothing. You have to find the mechanistic cause that cholesterol is actually making plaque on all your arteries. But we didn't find, in 60 years, we didn't find any of that.
Another study that measured the same metric, inner artery thickening, they found that vegan arteries were essentially the same, slightly better than marathon runners' arteries, both of which were healthier than the meat eaters.
Yeah, the problem is that meat eaters means you are taking the general population that doesn't give a fuck about their health, and the problem is that marathon runners are under a lot of stress and a lot of how do you call that, inflammation, because they are marathon runners. They are less concerned with health and more concerned with performance. So this is not a good study to conclude that vegans are better. And
Studied. Okay, point number 3, drinking milk causes cancer. I have no problem admitting that this is not a mainstream belief, but I do have to say I did put out a video about how meat causes cancer before the WHO made their declaration, before it was a popularly held belief, and I also put out a video about how dairy causes cancer, in which I discussed how it is likely the mammalian hormones present in milk that can trigger certain hormone-dependent cancers. As this study that I talked about way too much showed, after drinking milk, you can measure a 25% blood increase in certain estrogens and a 20% drop in testosterone. So it's very...
Yeah, the problem is that we didn't consume raw milk. We didn't consume pasteurized milk. We consumed raw milk. We consumed fermented milk. We consumed fermented cheeses. Maybe milk is not that good for us, but that doesn't mean cheese is bad for us, or yogurts, or kefirs, or other things that are altered by bacteria to become to become anything else but milk.
Very possible that you're not going to find milk consumption associated with every type of cancer for every demographic, but as this study found, daily milk consumption in adolescence or childhood increased prostate cancer risk later on at a total of 320% risk.
How can you conclude that? Because later on means several years. Maybe those people, I know, consumed drugs or consumed radiation or stood near places with radiation or something like that. You cannot associate that. You can associate it if you have a dogma to promote, but you cannot make a claim that that's the cause.
But single studies don't count for her, only her amazing meta-analyses are worth anything. But as Ryan from Happy Healthy Vegan already pointed out, one of the meta-analyses she points to is connecting dairy and lung cancer. Not a reproductive cancer that is hormone-dependent, not a connected cancer. This is sort of as dishonest as she claims Kip is being. Kind of like saying processed meat doesn't cause cancer because it isn't linked with lung cancer. Well, it's linked with colorectal cancer. Not every carcinogen has to be linked with every type of cancer. But it appears we do meet her standard here with a meta-analysis from this 2015...
Yeah, the problem is that colorectal cancers are more prevalent in vegans. There was a Harvard study or something like that. Why don't you bring that study up? Because that makes you feel bad and that makes your dogma look bad. That's why you don't. Because you only cherry pick the information you like and you want, and not accept that information that isn't favorable to you.
Meta-analysis on prostate cancer and dairy consumption. They looked at 32 studies and found that intake of dairy, milk, and other dairy products were all associated with increased total prostate cancer.
Yeah, but did they take into consideration the sugar and the carbohydrates consumed? Because that would be a great factor in cancer. Did they take into consideration that they smoked, they drank, they consumed processed foods in general? Did they take that into consideration? No, they haven't. So unless you show a mechanistic proof that cancer is caused by milk, you have nothing on your part. You have no proof.
Risk. We also know that milk boosts IGF-1, and IGF-1 fuels every stage of cancer, but
yeah, IGF-1 is not necessarily, it doesn't boost, it boosts cancer, but it didn't create cancer. Can you understand that? So it doesn't boost, it doesn't create cancer, it boosts it if it exists. And if that cancer exists, even if you don't have high levels of IGF-1, you would still have that cancer exist and grow. It will grow even if you drink milk or not. The problem is what causes cancer, not what boosts cancer.
It appears that animal protein in general also boosts IGF-1, so it's hard to get a clear answer when somebody who might just be
Animal protein or protein in general? Because the problem is that protein is protein and doesn't boost anything.
drinking less milk could be eating more meat, keeping the animal protein intake the same. But when you look at vegans compared to others, you start to get some interesting answers. Looking at the Adventist study, we found that vegans had a
Yeah, the problem is that the Adventists are very biased in their research because the Adventist study is made by Adventists with Adventists participating and with Adventists making the study. And they are religious. How their God tells them to not eat animals. What does that tell you? That tells you that if this fails, that means their God fails. So they have no interest in making that God false, or the claims of that God false. Furthermore, people that are religious, they fast a lot. Maybe fast has something to do with this thing, but nobody looks at that because your interest is not finding the truth. Your interest is bashing meat because of your ideology. I think fasting has a big contribution to this. Also, I think the fact that they are religious, they tend to eat less, and because they eat plants, they eat less calories and less nutrients. So for the opportunity for the cancer to grow and exist is lessened because of that.
29% lower risk of all female cancers compared to meat eaters, but lacto-ovo-vegetarians had a 4% increased risk. And one of the main differences in diet between a vegan and a vegetarian is
How
cancers
much?
compared to meat eaters, but lacto-ovo-vegetarians had a 4% increase.
4% increase. Is that relative risk or what kind of risk? Furthermore, a 4% increase, how can that not be a fluke, like a statistical fluke, because it's only 4%. 4% is almost nothing.
Increased risk. And one of the main differences in diet between a vegan and a vegetarian is milk consumption, which might be responsible for some of that 33% difference in female cancer rate. So between the 3.2-fold risk of prostate cancer, the meta-analysis on prostate cancer, the IGF-1 connection, and the lacto-ovo-vegetarian versus vegan difference, is it really that off the wall to say that milk causes cancer? All right, so number 4, one serving of processed meats per day raises the risk of diabetes by 51%. Julia can just not handle this one. She dismisses this as no one eats that 50 grams of processed meat per day. It's just the occasional prosciutto sandwich. Does she realize how widespread processed meats are? From the WHO, processed meats are defined as, quote, meat that has been transformed through salting, curing, fermentation, smoking, or other processes to enhance flavor or
Yeah, but the problem is, I don't think this is true, because that means they include almost all meats in processed meats. They don't have, they have to do a study where they compare salted cured meats with cured meats that are cured with chemicals that are not good for our bodies, like A chemicals or E chemicals, I don't know, additives. So that's what you have. You have to first make a study that compares these two to conclude what they said here, that red meats refer to muscle chain and processed meats refers to meat transformed through salting and so on.
improved preservation, or from PBS, quote, processed meats are any meats that aren't fresh. Okay, fine, maybe that PBS definition wasn't super scientific, but seriously, wake up, have turkey bacon, the healthier bacon, still a carcinogen. Maybe grab a sandwich, have some ham in it, that's a carcinogen too.
Well, you don't know that it's a carcinogen. You think it's a carcinogen, and you wish it was a carcinogenic, but it is not. You don't know that. You can speculate, but you don't know that. We consumed it for millions of years. You think we haven't adapted to that?
Dinner time, let's do drumsticks. It's chicken, it's white meat, also a carcinogen. There's so much processed meat out there. According to the National Pork Producers Council, 60% of pork, for example, is processed. So when you look at how the average American eats 46.5 pounds of pork per year, as this chart illustrates, which is from FDA and USDA data, you're getting at how the average American eats 46.5.
They eat 46.5 pounds of pork. They eat 273 pounds of fruits. I cannot see what's that there, but I think that's a lot of food also with the green part.
Pounds of pork per year, as this chart.
What is the? I want to find this chart. What is this chart? Shazam. You don't have the chart. Okay. Yeah, I can find that chart you're stating there. I don't care about it. Yeah.
60% of pork, for example, is processed. So when you look at how the average American eats 46.5 pounds of pork per year, as this chart illustrates, which is from FDA and USDA data.
FDA, USDA card. Yeah. Oh, I found it. I found it. Okay, view image. Look, wheat flour, you could argue that this is plants. Corn syrup, still plants. Corn, vegetables, fruits. Look, almost half of what Americans consume is plants. See, the average American, almost half is plants, and the rest is meat, and we are getting sicker. Understand that? So a half and half diet is getting us sick. In the past we had at most 1/4 plant foods, and we didn't get this sick. Can you explain that?
You're getting 57 grams of processed pork a day alone. That doesn't count all the other processed lamb and beef and chicken. And zooming out, it's possible that most cases of diabetes are being driven by animal product consumption. Looking to the Adventist studies, the meat-eating Adventists were the healthiest meat eaters we have because they ate less meat and less animal products for religious reasons. Then you compare those to the Adventist vegans, who are vegan for religious reasons, not for their abs, not for health. The result is a 78% lower risk of total diabetes. Come on. I love this. Not all fish are created equal. Just buy the low-toxin fish. Good luck. According to an Oceana report in the US, at least 28% of fish are mislabeled, but you gotta get those omega-3s, so just eat around toxins. Maybe just pick the toxins out. No, you can get the omega-3s you need from plants like flax seeds and chia seeds, and if you really want to cover your bases, according to plant-based doctors, you can take some algae-based DHA a few times a week. And the longest living formally described population, the Adventist vegetarians, they didn't eat fish. Clearly, it's not a requirement. She then attempts to play back up the connection between genetics and disease. Let's save some time here. I'll just link my video.
Yeah, the problem is that plants weren't a source of DHA or anything like that, because we didn't have plants all year round and they weren't easy to find in great quantities.
This topic at the end. Alright, moving on. She then sort of ends with a big appeal to futility. Nutrition science is just not definitive. Throw your hands up. Just eat 49 grams a day of processed meat. You'll be fine. She then goes on about how we can't just tie people up and force feed them certain diets which would be necessary to reach the level of scientific rigor that we need. I find this funny because it seems that whenever people are arguing against a vegan diet, they seem to forget that we do have a lot of these. From this meta-analysis of 395 no longer ethical controlled feeding trials, they found that if you increase saturated fat, the majority of which comes from animal products in the US diet, particularly from dairy, that the levels of cholesterol also increase.
Yeah, did they increase the level of saturated fat, and what happened to the sugar? Because that's important.
Fun stuff, but going on a vegan diet brings you back down the other way. It lowers your saturated fat intake massively, which is likely why vegans have way lower levels of cholesterol on average and ideal levels of that LDL.
Well, the problem is that I'm on a Facebook group with a lot of people that eat meat, a lot of meat, and don't eat plants, and their triglycerides and cholesterol and IGF-1 and other metabolic markers go down as well. When they stop eating plants combined with meat or animal products, and when they stop eating shitty products like processed foods, all their health markers stabilize or go to optimal levels.
Bad cholesterol. Well, meat eaters average high. I love this last statement here. Few would argue with the
Yeah,
fact that
don't say meat eaters. Say average population that eats meat eventually, if you really want to put that inside there, because you're not comparing vegetarians that are health conscious with health conscious meat eaters. You're comparing the normal population, the average Joe that doesn't give a fuck about food and health, with your health conscious vegan. So that's not a fair comparison.
have helped drive the obesity, diabetes, and heart disease epidemics, but turning around these problems will take a lot more than cutting out cheese and salami. Yeah, also cutting out all dairy, all meat, fish, and eggs, and replacing them with delicious plant foods. Ironically, a whole food
Delicious plant foods. Oh my god, dude, stop kidding yourself. If I make a barbecue right now the smell and even the sight of that barbecue will make 95% of people salivate like uncontrollably. They will wish to eat some meat that I'm preparing. If I make a food that's, I don't know, roasted carrots or boiled carrots, nobody would salivate for that except the vegans, because they are hungry and they want to eat something else but plants, but they can't because of religion.
Diet has been clinically shown to reverse those 3 diseases she just talked about. The broad study, massive weight loss while subjects were allowed to eat as much as they want. Neil Bernard's trial has been clinically shown to reverse those 3 diseases she just talked about. The broad study.
I see Duncan is McGuff, McGuff, I don't know, but I see Duncan. Yeah, he's from.
Massive weight loss while subjects were allowed to eat as much as they want. Neil Bernard's trial, major improvements on diabetic markers.
Yeah, Neil Bernard, because he's a plant advocate. Why don't you search for studies that aren't in your favor? Because you are afraid of what you will find.
And Dr. Esselstyn's clinical trials, unclogging of arteries, and near eradication of heart attack and stroke in his subjects. But what the hell uses shock journalism, so don't bother going vegan. In the end, well, Kip and Keegan did utilize a dramatic presentation style. Wow, totally unheard of. The underlying message here is true. Within developed countries, at least by sheer volume, it's very possible that these animal products are actually contributing to more deaths than smoking. Out of the heart disease, which is our leading killing disease, out of the various cancers, out of the diabetes, out of the obesity, it's not that far-fetched. Alright, that's it for today. Let me know down below if you felt like there were any points that I missed or maybe misrepresented. Feel free to like the video, subscribe, all those awesome things, and super thanks to all my Patreon supporters. I feel so patronized in a good way. Alright, as usual, links in the description. I will, thank you for watching, and I'll see you.
Yeah, fuck you. I'll dislike this because this is a shitty video. This is all I have for this video because these vegans need to be criticized for what they are doing.